Ooh, what up? No, it is another Tuesday, and we survived Survivor Series in our first WWE press conference. So we've got a lot to talk about with the return of CM Punk, the return of the Viper, Randy Orton. We've got a lot to talk about, and we were in the press conference, and we brought our buddy Rob from Bob Culture Podcast on to talk about all that. But before we get to that, I got to get to the people who bring you this podcast gold, and that is our fine friends over at Potter's Tree Service. If you're in need of tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, walnut logging, or lot clearing, Asa Potter and Potter's Tree Service are the go-to. Get with it. But I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, but I can show you better than I can tell you. So check this out. Check our sponsors out. Their links are in the description, and then we will get to Survivor Series.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion! That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
What up, no? We are back. We have survived. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to Survivor Series. Shout out to our sponsors, Potter's Tree Service. Check them out. Links in the description and all that. But we've got a debut for you tonight. We got the homie Rob Williams of the Bob Culture Podcast dropping in to talk a little bit of Survivor Series with us right quick. The return of CM Punk and all kinds of stuff. So, Rob, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Dude, thanks for a few minutes. Kyle, real quick, man, I love seeing the sponsorships, man. It's so cool that, like, with our platforms and stuff, man, like, I love that commercial. A shout out, what is it, Potter's Tree Service? Went over, liked it right away, because that's what you do. So now I know about Potter's Tree Service. I did a tree with my dad a long time ago. We didn't crush the house, which was awesome. I'll never do it again, though, guys. Call Potter's Tree Service. Shameless promo. And Kyle, dude, thank you for inviting me on, man. It was
Speaking
so cool.
Speaking of which, the man himself is in the comments. Looky there.
Yeah.
Potter's Tree Service.
That's how you do it, man. That's how you do it. Like, that's business right there. But dude, thank you so much for having me on the show, bro. It was so great to see a familiar face when I was out in Chicago for StarCast and then doing media for the first time at Survivor Series. It was just nice to see you and Whip and some familiar faces, man. So just so good to connect and learn from you a little bit there.
Hey, man, likewise, dude, because, I mean, I followed your stuff for a little while from afar, obviously, with you being in New York and all those good things. It was dope to link up with you and meet you in person in Chicago at StarCast. I mean, I had a great time there, got to do a bunch of interviews there, which if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And you can check out all those interviews from Chris Statlander to the best friends, the Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, and Willow as well. You can check all those out as well. But like I said, Chicago is a hotbed for pro wrestling. And I mean, it's cultivated so many relationships that have been big for this show, like the one with the homie Mega Ran, who, if you are going to be at the Royal Rumble, make sure you check out the event that Mega Ran's putting down for Royal Rumble weekend. He's got Swerve is going to be on it, big battle rap event, and a little birdie told me that there's some names that are going to be getting dropped that maybe you should tune into the show, because I heard Mega Ran might be coming through again soon. But like I said, man, it's dope because I followed your stuff for a little while. We link up in Chicago, and then we both get our first call from WWE to go do the press conference and end up seeing each other there too. So it's wild the way things work. But with that being said, man, tell everybody on our platform a little bit about your show, give me a little bit of a background and how you got involved in all this stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate the shameless promo time. I know everyone wants to hear about Survivor Series. I'll get my stuff in, brother, as they say. Real quick, the BCP, the Bob Culture podcast. It started off as a spin on pop culture, through my name in there, Bob Culture, and we really gravitated a lot towards the indie wrestling scene around here, the horror conventions, the Comic-Cons, and we really just got to sit down with a lot of our heroes. Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters, which for me was like a childhood dream. That's like one of my heroes, like with an actual Ghostbuster. Then we sat down with Jake the Snake. We sat down and talked with Johnny Gargano, Tommy Dreamer, Jim Ross, dude. And it's really cool to have the opportunity to talk to our heroes and all that. But also, we want to put over the indie talent. I have a great relationship with the independent talent here in the Northeast. We have our 500th episode coming up for Mania Club. They do a lot of work with Connor's Cure. And we have our year-end awards for the indies and the national level, man. So we like to give people their flowers here. And it's just great to, like you do, man, hang out with your friends, do what we love. And as we've seen recently, get some opportunities. So now we have our site, BCP Plus. It's BCP-Plus.com. We're covering 8 NFL teams: SmackDown, NXT, WWE, AEW. We're about 10 weeks in. Couldn't be happier, man. So check us out. YouTube, the Bob Culture Podcast, Instagram, the Bob Culture Podcast, BCP Plus. And thank you guys again for having me, man. I'm stoked to be here.
Hell yeah, man. I gotta get like you. This man's putting in work out
Working,
here.
man. Working out here.
Trying, bro.
Hey, man, I see it. I see you out here at ISPW. I saw you at AEW recently. I mean, definitely a show that you guys need to check out. I suggest to all the listeners and fans of our show to make sure you go check out Rob and all them as well. But like you said, people are here to hear us talk about Survivor Series. So since you're the guest here, I'll let you go first. What were your overall thoughts on Survivor Series and what we saw this past Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much we can get into. So just a very general statement, man. Stoked to be there. We obviously got some pretty stellar seats, so great vantage point of everything. I thought the women's War Games match stole the show. In fact, some of my favorite moments were in that match and not at the end of the show. We'll get into that in a little bit. I thought it was just a stellar, 5-match card, very NXT black and gold takeover feel, 3 or 4 surprises, some bigger than others. Steady time. We were out of there fairly early compared to other pay-per-views, which was great. And we stayed for the press conference, man. Just a really great overall event. Maybe I'm biased because I got to hang out with you, but it was really just a great show, man. I thought it was awesome. I don't know what you thought.
I mean, to be honest, bro, like I was listening to Busted Open this morning. Shout out to past guest of the show, Dave LaGreca. And I heard a lot of people saying that they feel like it's the best pay-per-view that WWE's had in quite some time. I have to say, the energy in that place was badass. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, I've said it since the first time I got to go to that arena was 2018 for Money in the Bank. And I've always heard about that arena because guys like Stone Cold, all kinds of different guys, talk about how that's their favorite arena to perform in because of the acoustics, because of the wooden ceiling. Man, that bitch was loud. And they got it jumping in there, dude. Like, it was WWE's as hot now as I've seen in any recent time. So like you said, the energy in that place was off the chain. Great seats. Shout out to WWE. Thank you for having us. It was the thing that I like about the War Games shows, though. That was the first time I've ever got to see War Games in person. The thing I like about the War Games shows is that you start with War Games and you end with War Games. You have bookends. You got the men's and women's war games. For me, I enjoyed them both, but I honestly kind of felt like I thought the women's match, I thought last year's war games, I enjoyed that one a little more than this year. But what I really liked about the women's one is not that it wasn't a good match. I still enjoyed the hell out of it. But I like that they still had the story in there too, like kind of how like Charlotte and Becky, had made up, and then you've got the whole inner workings and fighting between Damage Control as well. So all in all, I thought that was a great match. I think most of us expected them to win. I think out of that, it's going to be interesting. I've said it on the show already. I feel like we're kind of leading to, I think Damage Control is going to put Bailey out at some point. But I think that this only kind of moves that forward. And then I really enjoyed the Miz and Gunther, which that's another one I said on the show Friday with TK Trinidad that I really felt like this was going to be a match that, even though most people think that Gunther's just going to destroy Miz, anyone that really knows anything about wrestling knows that the Miz has been doing his thing now for how long now? 15 years? The guy's a Grand Slam champion and all that stuff. And I feel like he showed that once again with Gunther. I really enjoyed that one. The men's war games for me, I think was my favorite. I liked the way that they didn't have Randy Orton in the cell until the end of it. Although it was pretty funny when we saw Kim Orton put in a video that she was like in the front row before they ever came out. I was like, well, if she's here, he's here. But yeah, dude, that was pretty funny. But I enjoyed it, dude. Like, I really had a good time. The energy in that joint was something else. I mean, you had two giant pops between the CM Punk one and the Randy Orton return as well, which Randy Orton looked in the best shape I think I might have ever seen him in. That dude looked fucking swole at this point.
Jacked up.
Jacked up. Dude, this man ain't been missing a meal, a workout, and nothing. So I don't know. Like I said, all in all, man, the energy in that place was dope. I'm really interested to see what happens with this Seth Rollins CM Punk stuff. I'm excited. The thing that I like most coming out of this is that it was a great night, but it's a great feeling when you're headed into WrestleMania season and you're genuinely like, yo, I want to see what the fuck's going to happen because of stuff like that kind of stuff. And that's something that we couldn't always say about WrestleMania for so long. But the fact that year after year, at least for the last few years, they've got real momentum as we start to get on the road to WrestleMania, which that was another cool thing for me as well. J-Bone, you watched it from home. What'd you think of Survivor Series?
Bro, I could only imagine the energy at the arena around the venue, but just being at home on the couch with, what we have, like 5 freaking kids gathered around. Dude, it brought back such a like old school wrestling feel of just like the big event. You know what I mean? Like, this was big. This wasn't just another PLE, as they call it these days, but this had like a big fight feel all around it. All Saturday, it's all everybody was talking about. Survivor Series, all day long. But the energy leading up to it, even in the pre-show with Booker T on the panel and everybody did exactly what they needed to do to make that special. And it turned out to be a very, very special. I mean, one of the better Survivor Series that I can think of in the past years. I mean, I think we just talked about it recently, the Keith Lee Survivor Series with NXT. That was one that was on the list. But this one, man, this one takes the cake for a long time. I mean, 3 returns, I guess, right? If we're counting R-Truth, which was huge. I thought that was great. I thought that was awesome. And I guess for you guys, I want to ask you guys some questions, man. Like, just being at the event in the Allstate Arena, we all know how special that arena is, especially for the city of Chicago. What was the buzz like around the area, around the venue? What were the people like just going in before we even knew? Because everybody thought we knew what was going to happen, right? We have our rumors. I mean, the guy sold out a damn Allstate Arena just based on a rumor. That's huge. But what was the buzz like heading into the show?
I'll throw it to you, man, because I was in the hotel in and out, so I didn't really get to talk to anybody. But
I didn't get to talk to a ton of people, but our hotel was right next to the Allstate Arena. And the one thing I can say is anybody that was around there probably was there for Survivor Series. Cause I mean, when we walked through the hotel, I mean, kids and adults and everything, just wrestling stuff everywhere, which is, first of all, that's a dope ass thing to see. But like, I mean, literally everybody around there was like buzzing. And then you had, and then the good thing, the one thing that you can't take away from CM Punk is, man, the speculation of where this dude goes gets people chirping, man. Cause like just walking through the arena and hearing just, you know, how you be hearing like different people's conversation and stuff like that. And just like the different viewpoints of the people that are in the same arena, we're all going to see the same thing, but it's crazy how so many people can be so torn on it. And what's crazy is that we're all talking about CM Punk, but that show was badass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the show
like
was
Rob said, it had a
badass.
very NXT feel to it, man. It had like an NXT takeover feel. Like, what was it, 5 matches, right? That's kind of short for a PLE these days. And everything was like good moments. Like maybe not the best matches. The matches were good, don't get me wrong, but like when we were focused on NXT, it was always like what's in the ring. This is like everything surrounding it, the stories, where we're going next. Everybody wants to see what's happening next. And it was like, how do you balance it? Good moments versus good matches. I think we got a little bit of both. I think better moments than matches on this one, but fuck, did it surpass expectation, man? I thought it was great.
I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it seemed like a little bit, because I did my due diligence, of course, from the MMA side. I tried to do my research on it and kind of figure out what I was going to be covering on today's show.
Hey, CM Punk was in MMA.
I know, but what I'm
that
saying
motherfucker
is,
got the bag in MMA now that they've released those payouts. I just want to say that.
Right.
But it seems like from an outsider's perspective, at least, that to your guys' point, it really did kind of overshadow the fact that maybe this event was, I've heard it from multiple outlets now that this event was huge. It really did live up to expectations and really exceeded expectations, if anything. So it's surprising to me because it seemed like every time I was looking into it, it was all CM Punk. That's what all the posts and that's what all the media coverage and stuff seemed to be about, was the fact that CM Punk, made his appearance. So do you guys feel like that kind of overshadowed the fact that you did have such a good event?
It's hard to say, man.
It really is, because
where do you go with it, right?
And here's why. Because in some ways, yes, because Randy Orton hasn't been back in 2 years and has his big comeback, and then
nothing about it.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
There was nothing. And like I say, from an outsider's perspective, if I didn't even know it was Randy Orton's return until you guys said it on the show last week when we were breaking down the event. So yeah.
Right.
And that's because they had just announced it. We didn't, but that was why it wasn't announced, because it wasn't supposed to be.
Like pretty much they handed it, said, hey, Randy's going to be there, but the place didn't sell out because of that. The place sold out because rumor has it CM Punk could be there. You know what I mean? So it just, there's levels, man. And don't get me wrong, Randy's the GOAT. He looked great. That's probably the best Randy Orton we've seen.
Yeah, dude.
God, and I don't know how long. The guy is incredible.
He looks fucking swole right now.
He looks amazing, but once again, perhaps overshadowed by CM Punk. And how do you argue the fact, man? I can't. Really.
I mean,
it seems like whenever any of the major promotions make their way to Chicago now, and he's available at the time, that's what all the rumblings are about. Is we got to.
Well, I mean, usually somebody isn't available from one company to the next in like a 6-month period.
6 months, less than 6 months.
Well, he left AEW, came back, and then left again. So it wasn't even like he double dipped the pool. If you want to go that way with it, even.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Rob, what'd you think about that one, man? How did you feel about it overshadowing maybe the card or the return of Randy Orton?
So, disclaimer: I am notoriously not a CM Punk guy on my show, and all the respect for how he has changed the business. I feel like he is very, in part, responsible for this reality era that we live in now, with that pipe bomb, your doofus son-in-law, and really breaking the fourth wall, as he even said in that promo. I feel it really changed the business in a lot of ways. He's always intriguing, always great promos. usually great rivalries, MJF, Cena, the list goes on and on. Something different, a lot of that anti-hero vibe, which we'll probably talk about later. I'll put it this way. What are we talking about right now? You know, what's the lead? We're not burying the lead, as a lot of us journalists say. And also, like for me, that was not the moment of the night, partially because we didn't fully experience it because we were kind of pulled out right before that happened when they were all celebrating the war games, which also makes me believe, just from an instinct perspective, that not a lot of people did know, because
that's exactly what I thought. I was like, these people clearly had no idea this shit was about
and
to
I
happen.
don't think Byron knew either, because he shot it to a clip and he's like, oh, no, which is very not non-WWE. No disrespect, just from
no, I peeped that too, because like pivoted. When he like stopped, it's like, and the thing is, I think that's cool that nobody knew in a lot of ways, but
that's the best part. Yeah,
you know, and I mean, I'll tell you like this though. If this tells you anything about that pop, I think you would agree that that pop was so loud that I could hear it through not only the walls of the arena, but through into the press conference room where we were at.
Yeah, we couldn't hear the music, but we could hear the crowd.
We could hear the crowd through the walls, dude, in a closed room that they had the doors shut and shit. So
so how did that work though? I mean, so what happened? War Games was going, the match is over. They come and grab you guys, say, "Hey, let's go." Press conference.
Well, to be fair, we weren't supposed to be in there at first.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, they were and they were very gracious and letting us be a part of everything for first timers, and I'm very grateful for that. But that being said, so they were celebrating. You know, the men's War Games are all celebrating. You know, curtain call, bow, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, they kind of call us all up and bring us right to the press conference room. So this way we're not in a crowd of people all exiting at the same time. And while we're in there, you know, they're setting everything up, getting ready. Byron comes out, you know, setting up for the press conference. And someone says, Punk's here. And I'm sitting going, what? Like,
that was our boy Phil from Bleacher Report.
Shut up. And I'm looking, is he behind that curtain? Or like, did someone see his stuff? Or does someone like what's happening? Like it's centralized to this room that we're in, right? Like, is he behind that curtain? Like, is he coming out for the press conference? And then no. And then someone pulled out their phone. I guess there was a monitor over there. I hadn't seen the small monitor. It was on the table. It's only like 3 people saw it. Someone pulled out the phone. Here he is. And I'm just like, so if I walk out that door, you know, and I'm not notoriously a Punk guy, so I would have been disappointed if I was. And again, no disrespect, but I would have liked to felt how I would have felt. Would I have gotten goosebumps? Would I be able to emote? Would I be like, hey, this is cool for all these people that made me like hurt my ears before the event even started with their chants, going back to what you said about the noise and the acoustics. Great venue, all the love to crowd. I thought New York was one of the best crowds. No. And no disrespect, but Chicago, man, those guys brought it. I would have loved to experience that. That being said, though, we kind of missed it. So I feel like I can't answer completely on this, but we're talking about it. You're writing the articles. What's the picture? What are we leading off with here? It's the story of CM Punk, very polarizing figure.
And I think it was like that too on TV, Kyle. Like you guys said, there was a lot of things that I noticed. It was like, okay, there's no way anybody knew, because these guys were literally exiting the ring. Like they were getting ready to head up the ramp. The trademark thing came on the TV. I'm like, all right, it's over. All right, kids, let's pack it up. And then all of a sudden, bam, like, oh, okay, we pulled the NXT thing.
Right.
That's
cool. It's an NXT move. Yeah.
And then, like you said, when we cut to the press conference,
king of NXT.
Right. Triple H. So when we cut to the press conference, I noticed that too. Byron started talking about something completely different, and they put the Punk thing on the screen. I'm like, it's okay. So did anybody know like this is happening? And then I actually thought of that. I was like, everybody's in this room, and like this thing's still going off. Like, okay, so I don't know. It just didn't line up. So maybe they kept it close to the hip, man.
I think that's exactly what happened. I mean, they basically have reports saying he walked in front of people.
People have to know. The sound guy knew.
I was just saying that the production, like
whoever's floating
graphics. Sure, but I mean, who says that they didn't tell them in the headset 5 minutes before he went out?
I mean, maybe. Hey, here's this. Put this in. Slide this into VHS so we can play it on the big screen.
I mean, put it this way. It ain't like they didn't have everything together, because they already had the graphic for Living Color and blah 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 and all that stuff that he's
version of Living Color.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm sure they knew. I mean, maybe it came together at short notice, but they did it very well. Thanks, Chris. Very well put together, man. And like I said, it made for a big historical moment. Like nobody's going to forget this Survivor Series for a long, long time. So incredible. Kudos to them. I thought it was great. Loved it.
Can't argue that at all. Before we get off of Survivor Series and talk about some of the stuff that we saw on Raw, there were other things that were really interesting to me. What did you think about the whole spot with Becky and Charlotte? I know you said that you liked the women's War Games match best. That to me was one of the biggest things that stuck out, and it was one of the main things that Charlotte talked about in the press conference after the fact. Is the fact that, you know, her and Becky had reunited. So what were your thoughts on that part and what we saw in the women's War Game match, Rob?
Yeah, that was actually my favorite part of the night. And again, no disrespect to anyone else or any big moments. To me, the moment where they hugged was my favorite part of the whole night. You know, we talk about moves and we talk about moments, you know, and, you know, WWE is a big moments company, which I think is great. Also, that moonsault off the top by Charlotte, phenomenal, man. Sometimes she throws that corkscrew in. Maybe we'll do that next time, but picture perfect. I mean, just amazing. No fear either, too. Like no hesitancy. Got up there, did her thing. Great. I love the match, but about the, you know, that's the moves. Talking about the moments before they hugged each other, it was almost like that. They were both hyped. They're both, and they just looked at each other. You know, timing's very important in this business, and they didn't wait too long and they didn't go too quickly. And it was just that embrace. And it's one of those things, man, like it felt very real. And to me, I was even wondering like weeks leading up to Survivor Series, because I thought they had announced Becky's book. And I'm like, I wonder if she goes into detail. Becky's, we've always been a very pro Becky show going back to NXT even. And I was like, I wonder if she has a chapter about Charlotte or that relationship. And, you know, we talk about great dance partners, Adam Cole and MJF, you know, people who are, you know, frenemies, you know, are they better as tag? Are they better as opponents? Are they all of the above? And they're just so fantastic together. And I'm like, I wonder if they'll revisit this. Like, I wonder if it really was personal issues. I wonder if it was just like, hey, let's separate them. They've done everything they can do. Maybe a little bit of both. Like I always say, it doesn't have to be this way or this way. It could be, there's always that gray area, man. And I'm like, I wonder. And then they, sure enough, they do the phone call thing with Becky. And then she comes in. So I'm like, oh, that's cool to see them together. They tease a little something, the dissension on SmackDown, which is there. And then that hug, man, is just like, that's amazing. But also, like you said in the press conference, Becky got a little emotional, a little choked up. Yeah, there was a moment there, you know, and I was going to ask them about that moment. That was my question, was going to be like, you know, we talk about moves and moments, talk about what went through your mind, you know, going through that moment, you know, just kind of like almost like Blink-182. They came out with that new album, you know, everyone's friends again, like the songs about healing and I love you, man. And, you know, why does it take a sickness or an airplane crash for us to get back together? And it's beautiful, man. And I love it. And I think they're going to be maybe challenging for the tag team titles or maybe just the stories in their relationship. I'm here for it in any form or fashion, man. This is my favorite part of the night. Can't say enough good things.
You can't argue that, bro. I mean,
I
if
fucking
they
love the
were to get
Blink-182
the
album,
tag
for the
titles,
record.
Oh, it's so good. It's so real, man.
For the
Let's
record.
go.
Just want to throw that out
Did you
there.
see him
It's
on
fucking
tour or
awesome.
not yet?
no,
Not
I
yet,
haven't
no,
gotten to see him. No,
Do it. They're
we just
I
went to
will.
Metallica and Pantera and Metallica and Five Finger, though. That was pretty badass.
That's a little different. That's okay. You got some good drumming in there too. So
Hell yeah. And they had Zach
lost my
Wild on
voice
the
for a
guitar
week,
for
2
Dimebag too. It was dope.
wow.
Shout out to
for 2
past
weeks
guests of the
almost.
show, Chris Kale and the boys from Five Finger Death Punch. But
No kidding. Look at you.
hey man, he's a good dude. That was a funny story because our guy Justin James, who's a guy I've trained with since I was 14, coaches him in Extreme Couture. And so that's how we linked up. And he heard the story about how my dad crashed the car on the last concert we went to was Five Finger, and he totaled the car. And so he heard the story, DM'd me, and came through. Couldn't have been a nicer dude. He brought us to the concert and all that shit when they were here in Detroit. So
Classy.
yeah, he's a good dude. He reached out to me too. I talked to him about the press conference too. So yeah, man, it was a good time. But I agree with you. I think that was one of the high points in the show for me was the Becky and Charlotte thing. I think if they went the route like you're saying, it'd be pretty cool because I mean it definitely would be a way to give the tag titles more steam on them. I mean, no disrespect to Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, but I mean, if we're talking star power, Charlotte and Becky will put those on the map the same way as what I feel like we saw in a way with Sasha Banks and Trinity, or Trinity now, but Naomi then.
I will say,
Kyle, what do you?
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, man, it's your show, brother.
No,
No,
I just want to say between you guys, like, what would you rather though? Like a tag team title run? Would you rather like the friendly, like I love you man type title run, or would it be like the I know who the fuck you are and I'm not gonna turn my back so you can stab me in the back type title run? Like, what would you guys rather there?
I'll say A, because we kind of did, not that we're tag team partners, but we kind of did like the frenemies thing, and we always see that, like that strange bedfellow tag team or like that tension. We see that a lot going on. I think it's like I said, like the Blink-182 album, bro. It's like the healing, it's the feel good. The dissension will be with their opponents, or whoever they go against in some good storylines. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to say,
no, you're good.
I feel like Chelsea and Piper are actually doing a really good job with what they've been given, because those tag titles have been somewhat obscure. Unfortunately, it's felt that way, and they're doing their thing. Like Chelsea's utilizing every second. I'm a big fan of Piper Niven. Thank goodness they got rid of that dewdrop thing.
Thank God.
She's fantastic, man. But they're doing what they can with the time they're given, man. And I feel like slowly but surely they're elevating those titles. And I just didn't want that to get lost, but I get what you're saying too, man. It'd be great to see Charlotte and Becky challenge.
Okay, he says you bring up a point with having Becky and Charlotte as a tag team, might as well, because he thinks Becky's taking the belt off of Rhea. Any thoughts on that point, J-Bone? What do you think about that one?
Dude, if anybody you would think it'd have to be Becky, because who else? Rhea's, granted, I'd like to see Rhea be in the ring more. Jade would be a good one. I'd love to see Rhea Ripley defend the belt more, but everything else that she's doing, dude, is 100% class A great shit right now. She's untouchable almost at this point with everything she's doing.
But do you think it could be Becky to try to take the belt off her at one of the nights of Mania? Or do you think it's going to be?
If I had to pluck one out of the main roster right now, yeah, it would be Becky. I think we'd have to. If not, star power wise, I think it'd have to be Jade. I think that's just where we're at. I don't want to see Charlotte.
The only thing with Jade, I think that would be great, but I feel like the only way you could really do that is if Jade came in and won the Royal Rumble, because otherwise I don't feel like I don't care. Right. Well, that's what I'm saying though, but that's the only way that I like that. But the only way that scenario works is if she goes in and then, wins the Rumble and runs roughshod real quick and then gets to call her shot. Because otherwise, let's face it, between November and WrestleMania, you can't really tell me that Jade's going to have enough time to really win a bunch of matches unless they just have her Goldberg like they did in AEW. But something tells me that I don't see that happen.
Please no.
That's why I said I don't see that happening. So if we're talking titles, I think the only way that Jade gets near one that quick is if she wins the Royal Rumble. Like if she debuted and then just went roughshod. But I could see her also, there's always a big thing for who's going to be number 30. I wouldn't be surprised if she showed up as number 30 and then just threw them all out. So
major debut right there.
Yeah,
I definitely think that's a thing, but it's definitely going to be, in my opinion, needs to be one hell of a challenger to take the belt off of Rhea, in my opinion, because agree with you 100%, J-Bone. Her run has been badass. Mommy's been on top for a long time, and I feel like it's going to take a hell of a competitor to knock her off the mountain on this one.
It's funny that we all of us smile when anybody says that.
It's kind of funny, but look, even the females get a kick out of it too. So it is what it is.
Well, so before we get off Survivor Series, I want to ask you guys number one right there.
Number one, Hulk Hogan, hot pro.
Obviously, we got the Punk thing, we got the Viper thing. Randy Orton was great. Other than those two guys, who's your MVP of Survivor Series? Just pick one person, man or woman, who I don't want to say stole the show, but who came out better than they went into the Survivor Series.
Rob, I'll let you go first. I got to think about that.
I need to let it marinate, but and that's a great.
Okay, well, hold on. If you guys want to sit on that for a second, I got a question for Corey too, because Corey, obviously, you're the outsider in the whole wrestling world. You do the MMA stuff for us, man. But knowing the Punk situation, you've heard us talk about it, the AEW stuff versus WWE stuff, all the things he said. How do you feel as an outsider for him to come back to WWE, pretty much say I'm home now? How do you feel?
That's not kind of what he said. That is what he said.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah.
So, listening to Ariel Hawani break it down on Monday, I feel like he did a pretty good job, as he usually does, with the breaking down the kind of rough what the MMA fan needs to know if they care to follow bits of wrestling, and that's what I feel like that was. And he broke it down as the simple fact of what kind of role do we see him in now that he is back with WWE? If he's going to be running his way towards the title and stuff like that again, then it
has to do that at some point.
Either way, to me, it's just it's a little weird, man. To go from that being like his initial, like he made his name on the Indies, then made his like stardom essentially in WWE, then to go to AEW and make this whole big thing. Kyle likes to bring it up all the time. We were there when he made his debut in Chicago, and that was a huge deal then. And I feel like fans love him, so it's not milking it, but at the same time, it kind of feels like he's milking it a little bit. And then to be the like 1 foot in, 1 foot out with the AEW situation, I don't know what.
Well, he's not got anything to do with AEW now. I promise.
I understand that now. Let me get there. That's where I feel like for him to go from that point to be kind of then released for the second time, where it was like a total full release, then to now we kind of assumed it would happen, that he might make his way back to WWE. I knew it was a huge shocker, but I feel like it was also a huge assumption too that he would make his way back. Like you guys said, he basically sold out an arena on just the rumor that he would be there. So I don't know, man. I feel like depending on what his role is and what we see in the future will be depending on kind of what my opinion is. I feel like he didn't. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't want to shit on his career because I feel like he's done really good, but to have extended breaks and extended trouble following him, and then to just always have this huge uproar. I know it's Chicago, so that's always going to be his hometown. He's always
well, Corey. I don't know if you heard this stat, just so you know it though. They said that his return is the most watched social clip WWE's ever had. It's got 87 million views.
So apparently I'm just in the minority and thinking maybe he's
looking
at it.
By time, listen, I drove an hour.
That big of a thing, yeah.
I drove an hour to watch this at my buddy's house. By the time I got back home from after the show, it had like 16 million views. That's incredible, dude. That's incredible for social media. It's amazing, dude. I know I watched it probably 15 times. My kid was watching it, probably watching it right now. But it's just something that it's a special moment, dude. It's huge. It's gonna be there forever now. But back to my question to you guys: did you guys figure out an MVP yet?
I think so.
Do you pluck
one?
All
right, who you got?
I'll go. I'll give Bianca an honorable mention. I thought it was cool, and always huge fan of Bianca, but her coming in, seeing like more of that like weaponized war game side of her when she came in, because we didn't see the just bam like with the whip, like let's go. I think there was a double suplex, like seeing that side of her, I was like, okay, like is there literally anything she can't do? Like she was amazing. So Bianca, shout out. And everyone was just great. Like we talked about Becky and Charlotte. Like I love where that's headed, like the emotion there. But watching there, Drew impressed me. Just seeing him in person, man, he is the truth. But I think Jey Uso, really, man, when he came in, the energy behind him and his performance, man, a little bit of, channeling The Rock and some of those punches, man, a little swagger in there, man. He's got something, man. And he is just, sometimes when you're doing the tag team thing for a long time, it's a little bit harder to translate in terms of like moveset and work rate to the single stuff, man. And he is just doing it. And then we saw some of the stuff with him and Orton on Raw, which I absolutely love. He's like, and I mean everyone. Like, and he's like, no, we're cool, bro. Like, I'm here for whatever that's gonna do because it's Randy Orton. Like, and I'm just like waiting for it. That's marinating too. But I'll go Jey Uso.
All right. So this one's kind of tough because again, I said that, like I said earlier, I mean, the show itself was just fire overall, in my opinion. So I really enjoyed it from start to finish. But as far as an MVP for the night goes, I think it's Cody Rhodes for me. Because even though we had the blood and guts match in AEW, which, like I said on last week's show, like technically he might not have been in War Games, but he's been in War Games. So, so for him to be in his dad's match, and I'm so pissed that I couldn't get a chance to ask him this when we were in the press scrum. I was trying so hard to get them to give me a question. How nobody asked about the bull rope, I don't understand. Like, we're talking about how it's his family's match, and you got a Rhodes and a Flair both in the War Games again, and then he comes in with the bull rope, his dad's signature. That was really cool for me. I thought it was really cool how Randy, kind of passed off the win to Cody so that he could hit his finish and win the match with it being his dad's match. And I think that this gives Cody the momentum needed, especially with them announcing on Raw, which we're going to get to that here in a second. But the way that it led into Raw, where he was the first person to declare himself for the Royal Rumble, which, ring the bell, there might be a t-shirt coming with that soon. But I'll be at the Royal Rumble in Tampa, ready to get the fuck out of this cold weather. And we've only had it for a few days, but I digress. But with that said, I think it's got to be Cody. I think it's got to be, because I think that this was a good way to kind of like shoot him off towards what's next for him. And I liked the way on Raw, how when he came out and spoke, he talked about there's only one ending for me, which is why he wants to be in the Royal Rumble, to go back at Roman. So for me, I think it would be Cody Rhodes. What about you? You're making us pick. Who was your MVP, you dick?
Oh, I wasn't expecting this.
No, you can't dish it out and not be ready for it. What? Come on.
No, but I'm gonna throw out an honorable mention, and I'll be the first to say I wasn't excited for this because of the taking away from Carlito and all that. I still don't even know what happened there. But Dragon Lee, as my honorable mention, man, for him to step up, he played a big role in that. I mean, we're talking Survivor Series, dude. Him and Santos Escobar, dude, that was big for them. That's a big step, and they put on a great show, great match. But if I'm picking one guy, dude, I don't want to just ride the coattails of even pick Cody, but I'm gonna pick Drew McIntyre because the stature of that guy during War Games, like you almost feared him. At least from the TV standpoint, a lot of times the camera was on him while he was in that cage. You wanted to see what's gonna happen between him and Priest, but he makes it so believable inside a match like that with his physicality and his aggressiveness. Like he's like, when they say like, who are you going to put against Brock? Like, I believe that he will go kick Brock's ass. You know what I mean? Like he made it believable as a 6'6", whatever. What is he, fucking 500 pounds? I don't fucking know. Big muscle.
He's definitely not 500 pounds.
Whatever he is. He's a fucking monster. But fucking dude, he stood out above the rest. I mean, you had all your layers, Cody, the story, you had everything involving Randy Orton, the CM Punk thing. You still had Drew. Kind of.
So do you think he's going to go heel now? Above. Is that what do you think we're going to see next now?
Did you? Yeah, I do. I think he's going to be a great heel. He's going to be a feared heel. We're going to fear him, and rightfully so. You should look at the guy. You know what I mean? So for me, that's the MVP. And another honorable mention would have to be the Miz. I love the Miz, man, but I was like when like old school wrestling, you watch those guys like fighting up. Like how this guy, I hope he cheats to win because he's like, there's no way he could just beat Gunther, right? Like, cheat, kick him in the balls. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, you were cheering for that for the Miz, man. So, like, you wanted to see him do well. But yeah, that's all I got on that. Drew, my MVP.
I like it. I can see that. I mean, I think Drew's been at the top of his game, and I hope for his sake he gets to go back at the title at some point, especially with, like we've talked about it nauseum, his reign being what it was with pandemic and all that stuff. I really do hope at some point he gets back near the title. But all right, as we get into Monday Night Raw, obviously, Rob, I know you saw by the time you got back to your hotel, because if you didn't, you weren't looking at social media, but tell me your thoughts on what we saw at the end of War Games after CM Punk coming out and Seth Rollins giving a couple birds and FUs to old CM Punk. Do you think 100% work? Or do you think that or Or do you think that it was kind of real life bleeding in, but it, like we've heard in so many of the best stories, two guys don't got to like each other for things to work out?
I'll try to keep this as short as I can. I have a lot to say on it. I talked about it on the pod. We're getting into it. First of all, J-Bone, great stuff. I'm poaching you for my show. Sorry, Kyle. That being said, I kid. Notoriously, again, not a CM Punk guy. Just I'm choosing my words carefully here. I remember back to the ROH days, man, and first-hand accounts of after he had left there, he left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. This is before WWE. I think it was like people at the merch table or whatever. Like, oh, Punk's gone. Oh yeah, thank goodness. Like little jabs and things I noticed, and like going way back before WWE. So maybe and again, I don't work with the guy. Just word of mouth kind of stuff, difficult to work with. We saw what played out with WWE. We saw what played out with AEW. We saw what played out with AEW again. It's like a fool me once kind of a thing. And Triple H, great with the media. He handled it perfectly. He's working, but like we're on a level playing field. We're starting over here. If you don't grow in 10 years, which was actually a great line, if you don't change in 10 years kind of a thing. But that being said, I'm watching this and I could run it two ways. Like I never say 100% this. Like I said earlier in the show, it's never just black and white or this and that. There's always that gray area, right? Could be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Scenario one, nobody knew. Like I had that vibe when we got pulled in, and then
that's what I told them when I talked to them. Like the fact that they pulled us in like that, because I feel like when I looked at the media guy, I feel like they almost felt bad that they pulled us out of there. Because they didn't know that was going to happen, which again, kudos to WWE, because I really do feel like nobody really knew,
which is a good right.
Yeah. Whether he was coming or not. And that's how those things are best, when nobody truly knows. And I mean, if it's that, like I said, I would almost be willing to bet you they probably told Michael Cole in his headset probably 5 minutes before that or something like that. And obviously the sound guy knew once he told him to play it, you know what I mean? But from all accounts that we've heard so far, he basically walked in right before he walked out and walked right through in front of people. So, I mean, I don't think a lot of people knew, because even the PR guys looked kind of shocked when people were like, no, CM Punk's here.
And we're the journalists, like that is the lead, like that is no. And again, we talked about it earlier, no disrespect to anybody else. I know what my favorite part of the show was the women's war games. But that, as a journalist, that's something you want to be in the arena for. I think had they known, they would have had, oh, wait, just wait a minute.
But
that being said, the pivot from Byron was very uncharacteristic of WWE. I thought the mannerisms, not just is it a work, is it a shoot with Seth, but very non-WWE, the middle fingers, there were some lip reading videos out, the things he said, he better not be back there when I get back there. Some lots of expletives. Even just seeing his mannerisms, or all of their mannerisms. So let's play scenario A, right? Nobody knows except sound guy, Nick Khan, Triple H, graphics guy, right? That's it. Because I don't think Byron knew, and I don't think any of the press people knew. That being said, we're running that scenario. He comes out based on everybody's mannerisms when he comes out. The good guys in the cage and the bad guys in the cage, all just kind of staring, and like they're not like emoting, like they are, like they're reacting, like they're selling it, but they're not like animated. I guess what I'm saying. Like
they were all kind of doing the same thing, checking their, like all of them, like Randy did it when he was sitting in the chair. You see Rhea doing it outside the cage, flipping, and she flipped them off too. And like
I thought she flipped off a kid or a fan that she was messing with.
Okay, well maybe that could be. I just
and she's great. I'm not hating at all. She was just
totally. It totally could be, but it looked like to me she tapped the watch thing, and then I thought I saw her flip them off. So it could have been a fan, but the fact that everybody kind of seemed to have that same, like, what the fuck was that kind of timing, gave me the sense that I don't think people knew, or if they did, they didn't know ahead of time kind of thing, which again, as we all know as wrestling fans, that's what makes those things work the best. So,
right. So, I mean, I just real quick, I'm trying to run the scenarios. I always try to like call it down the middle kind of a thing, right? Like a good referee, right? So they're all just kind of like you said, like the same kind of look. Like Randy kind of plays and he takes a chair, he waves, and like Punk, which is silly. And you got to think from Randy's perspective, you had Orton chance all night, you had Punk's chance all night. You have this big reveal. If I'm Randy Orton, I come out and he handled it very well. I come out, this is my return, crisp as anything. Like you guys said, looked great. Amazing. What a moment for him. And then just not to be told and then have this, like, it could rub you the wrong way. Total pro. Didn't do it. He waved. He just sat down. Didn't make a thing out of it. Total pro. Total pro. I pop for it. But say no one knows, right? We see these things from Seth. Very un-WWE. That being said, he was kind of pacing when they were all doing like that same kind of reaction. He was just kind of pacing. So maybe it was genuine. And maybe it was like, you know, how you start to get heated, you start to pace. Again, these guys are full of adrenaline. They just did a War Games match, you know. They're fighters. I work with wrestlers, man. I know how it be. There's conversations backstage. There's a lot of feelings, you know. So we run the scenario that maybe it was a little bit of a work or a little bit of like, hey, like don't tell anyone, but you know, Seth, all right, someone's gonna come out and like just react, you know. And maybe he did a little bit of that. Because he waited till the cameras were off. Like that was not on, unless I think the cameras were off at that point.
Yeah, I believe
that was
so.
all fan footage. Yeah. So he, you know, and he knew it would get out there. I don't think he was concerned about that. But the more and more I see it,
I think they knew it would get out there.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it's very un-WWE. But that being said, it really plays into any sort of angle they're going towards. There were reports that Drew kind of stormed off backstage, but at the same time, like as a journalist, like I try to be fair, like maybe just went home. Pay-per-view's over, you know, like, you know, sometimes people kind of stretch the truth. They addressed it very briefly on Raw, which I thought was crazy, but I'm of the theory that you never work your locker room because trust is very important in something like that. So you almost feel like you're a fool in a way, you know. But at the same time, you said it was a kept secret, you know, it was for all the right reasons. Did it rub some people the wrong way? I'm sure it did. Everyone's going to feel differently about it. Seth straight up called him a hypocrite. You know, I could get that. You know, Seth's been carrying that Raw show, that brand on his back. That's why his back's so beat up for years and years and years, man. So I get it. I think he has every right to feel that way if it's real. I'm just going to say it's that gray area. Maybe it's one of those things. It's like, hey, react. And it got a little real, you know, I can't say, but made it very interesting. We're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think Seth knows too. I mean, I mentioned this earlier. He knows what's going to make the money, right? Whether you like the guy or not, you know where the money's at. And let's, like you said, Seth's been carrying that Raw brand for a long time now. For a guy to just come back, now we're stepping over Jey Uso, potentially Drew McIntyre, Nakamura's sitting there. These are matches we love to see, but popularity-wise, we are going to be jumping over these guys. But what's the best bang for your buck here is to make a scene, get yourself in there. Maybe you didn't know that was going on. I don't know. But how do you implement yourself into that story is be a part of it, make a scene. And I mean, he threw the title, man. I seen the footage where the music hit and he had the belt and he was standing there and he launched that title. I mean, Cody was the one that picked it up and gave it back to him. And it became real uncharacteristic of WWE, like you said. I mean, it was Michael Cole and Graves out there holding them back. It wasn't security. It was, I mean, a couple guys, but like, it was just odd. Like Cole is probably the head of that whole production, right? Like he's the guy in charge out there. If things go wrong, Cole's probably going to step in if he needs to. And I feel like he did at that point. Like, I think everybody just kind of didn't know what was happening. What do we do? Just keep these guys over here until the camera's off and then let them go. You know what I mean? So the gray area is something I like in wrestling. I mean, I know the reality of what's real and what's fake nowadays. I think that if it comes back, I'm with that, man. And Punk's the guy that's always been the head of that spear. What's real, what's fake. You know what I mean? So I'm for it. I'm with it, man. I'm here for it.
Not to mention, again, like we talked about, I mean, two guys don't need to be best friends in order for them to, you know, have great matches. And I mean, I think there's not two people that understand that more than CM Punk and Seth Rollins. So, I mean, realistically, like you said, Rob, I mean, Seth Rollins knows if he's CM Punk's first big pay-per-view match back, whether that's Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, whatever it is, dude, that's got money
Just
written all over it for him.
Back in the brain.
So exactly. So I mean, why wouldn't Seth want that match?
And there's
so
so much
I think
there. You know, you could say so much. Seth is going to be able to say so much, and Punk knows that. He knows what's coming. Hypocrite this, two-face this, you know, whatever. You said this. You've been tearing this place down. It all plays into the story.
Well,
that we
and
wanna
that
see.
leads into what we just talked about too, and that I think there was a lot of truth to what he, or at least for him, I feel like there was a lot of what he actually felt to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, let's not forget, it's the same guy who 6 months ago said that CM Punk was a cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think
And
anybody
on the
knew
other
he
hand,
was
Punk
coming
was
back
the
6
same
months
guy
ago.
telling MJF, like, go ahead and go over there. You buy one, get one half, whatever the fuck he said about WrestleMania. Remember that line? You know, the buy one, get the next night off type deal. Like, he was talking a lot of shit, and he's been throwing jabs at WWE. So it's, if they give Seth free reigns to say what he wants to CM Punk, and we all know, like, it's not going to start no shit. We're just going to make money off this. Take my money. I'll buy the full. I'll
think
buy the
about
full
it in this
pay-per-view
sense.
like in the old days.
Think about it in this sense. You guys remember when they had the feud between The Rock and Cena? I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
I remember watching those promos like, yo, these dudes are kind of cutting each other up a little bit.
real.
Like, yo,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
The promo
So,
on the
I mean,
hands.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Shit was getting real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go get some Fruity Pebbles. But, you know, I mean, like I
big
said,
time.
when those get that hot, I mean, you hear, you've heard past guests of the show, Eric Bischoff, say it, you know, controversy creates cash. Okay.
That's right.
So again, people don't got to be best friends to put on good shit. Look at Edge and Matt Hardy. Look at, let's see. You got, I mean, dude, you can go down the
Tails
line.
all this time, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
Brett,
you get the
Sean,
point. I'm not going to
Hogan
sit here
Wade,
and think
all
about it,
this
but off
shit.
the top of my head, I mean, who could have been more pissed off at somebody than Matt Hardy at Edge or vice versa?
Yeah.
Like, and they
Exactly.
still did what they did. So, I mean, at the end of the day,
I remember what I hear. I might have heard it on Busted Open, but if Hulk Hogan can come back to WWE after all the shit that went down in court with him and Mr. McMahon, bro,
that's true.
anything's possible here. Like, this is wrestling, bro. That's the beauty of it. Anything is possible. What's the
And-
tagline again? Never say never.
Right.
Him
And
and
I
Page
would
over.
even argue this. Now that he went to AEW and it went the way it went, I mean, don't you think that there's got to be somewhat of a thought for him as in, like, you know what? I went over to the other side, and maybe you realize, damn, maybe they don't, there are this, and this, like, whether that's production level, whether that's the fans that they've got in there and how much they're selling out right now. You see that things aren't the same as WWE when you go elsewhere. And I feel like him coming back there now, he knows that he's back in the biggest company in the business. And I think, and I would have to hope, and I could be wrong, but I would like to think that CM Punk's got to be thinking about this. Like, look, the way I went out of WWE the first time wasn't the way I wanted to go out. Certainly the way things ended in AEW, that wasn't the way I want to go out. I got a feeling that he's got to be on all best intentions, that he wants this to be a great last run for him. And let's not forget, I think we can all agree that if that kind of shit, like what happened at the press conference, would have happened in WWE,
Oh yeah.
his mic would have been cut the fuck off. There wouldn't have been an hour-long, like a 20-minute tirade of him
They would
just like
pull the power plug on everything. Like, see,
the screen would have went
cameras
black.
and
Is
everything.
what would have happened.
Yeah, they don't play that shit there, which is good. I mean, it's a tight ship in WWE. I think we all know that, especially with the merger. You're a bit more in the public now. I'm not saying that you have to cuff CM Punk, but he's gonna have to shape up a little bit if everything we hear is true. Because let's face it, AEW was a ship that had no captain, pretty much. Tony Khan they're new. WWE's a groom thing, so it's night and day, man. So he's just gonna have to get it together, and I think he will.
Okay, well, what do you guys think about the promo we saw on Raw? Okay, we heard him say I'm home and things of that nature in there, and saying that he knows that everybody's not too happy with him being here, which again, like you said, Rob's alluding to the same thing like we've been talking about with Seth Rollins. But what do you guys think of what we saw from the promo for him, the first time him speaking at a WWE forum since in 10 years?
J-Bone, take it away. You're killing it, brother.
Thank you, man.
I'm a fan.
So I think he did it the right way. Because, I mean, everybody on the internet wanted him to go in there and just put his foot on the AEW neck. And as we all know, in WWE ways, If you don't talk about them, they don't exist. So just don't talk about them, right? Which I think is fine. They probably don't want that. I think we'll get that later on. We'll get rid
AEW
of that.
mentioned CM Punk
They mentioned him,
on
right?
Saturday.
So, right. So here we are, like, who's getting the most out of this? You know what I mean? AEW's shooting themselves in both feet right now.
Malachi Black said something about CM Punk when he was talking shit on Collision.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
But as far as the promo, man, I mean, I think he planted his flag. You know, when he left, he was one of the best in there. He was top tier. And now that he's back, you have to deal with him. And if you don't like it, do better. Because, hey, I've been gone for 9 years, and I'm back and I'm the top guy again. And I haven't even laced my boots yet. So if you don't like me, do better than me, as they say, right? So I'm all for it. Plant your flag, dude. Talk your shit. If they can't walk with you and step with you in the ring, they shouldn't be there in the first place. Let's go. Business, right? What do you say? I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. Let's do that.
I like it.
Yeah.
If it makes dollars, it makes sense. And
Right.
that is not
That
always
part.
true. No, not a way to live your life, but in the business world, sometimes they say that. I'm actually gonna go the other way, bro. And you're spitting facts and you're spitting knowledge. You know, a lot of the feedback has been a little bit watered down, not what we expected. And I listened to Busted Open today. Shout out to Mark Henry and Bully. They kind of said, hey, you know what? This is him kind of like getting some things off his chest. This is him being very genuine, very real side of him. We haven't seen. We talked about the healing with the Blink 182 and the Becky and Charlotte. Like, this is kind of his healing. I like the unexpected. I was like, okay. When he said, I have 2 words, I'm like, is he going to say, I'm sorry? Like, that's what my head went. He goes, I'm home. And that to me, and I'm not going to lie, like, you know, they were saying on Busted Open how, you know, everyone's saying watered down. No, it's not watered down. When I watched that promo, and I'm just being real to myself, the first 2 words that came to my mind were watered down. And no disrespect. I know I keep saying that, but he goes, I'm home. You know, this is, you know, where I'm supposed to be. And I'm sure he truly felt that way. I don't know if that's what the fans want to see, this anti-hero. What's he going to say? Kind of a guy. Is he going to address Seth? Is he going to address Drew? I'm waiting for the jabs, man. And he's not going to name people by names, but he's going to have a clever line or two. He goes into he's been known to go into business for himself in other promotions. And not to say it won't happen, but, you know, Triple H said in the press conference, we're at a level playing field, and they asked, well, what's next for CM Punk? And he's like, well, you know, I'm excited to see what that is. You know, we'll find out. It's like, bro, you booked this. Like, you know, but that's the right. Again, he's a master. Like, Triple H knows what he's doing, man. He should be a politician. But like, he's running a good business, man. He was great with the media. But I digress. The thing with Punk, man, I watched that promo. I don't know if, and they waited till the end. I called out. I'm like, they're going to wait till the end of the show. We got Monday Night Football. We're watching to see Punk last couple minutes. Not what people, I would say, expected or wanted. I'm all about like the healing and the realness. And you know, that what we didn't expect, I'm here for it, but like something about it just to me, and again, I've been very critical of Punk. I'll be the first one to admit it. I've said it several times. Something about it felt very manufactured, which and it's thought out, it's planned, it's WWE, it's business. I get it. Like you said, the other company does not exist. You know, this is that. And then he kind of, like you said at the end, it was like it was about the money kind of a thing, which was, I think, because he said all this kind of like not mushy, but all this kind of like healing kind of stuff, which we didn't expect, and I'm home kind of stuff. Then he kind of said, but it's about the money or something. And then it was like, oh, okay, like that's the edgy part. And like, to me, I don't think that's the way you go, or this is just a really slow burn. And they've been killing it with long-term storytelling. You know, Triple H has been big on that since Johnny and Ciampa. I think that's where it all started. Then the Bloodline, then Sammy, Cody, Damage Control, all that stuff. That being said, though, man, something about it it didn't feel like Punk. It didn't feel like Punk to me. Again, I've been very critical of the guy, but I like that it was different, but I don't know if that's what he's the anti-hero. Like, I don't know if that's what people are tuning in to see right now. And I'm interested to see where it goes.
I think Bully said it best when he kind of said that it seemed like a safe promo in a lot of ways. I think he said what he needed to say, but didn't really push the boundaries too much on it. But there were elements of it that I kind of noticed, like those CM Punk digs, like when he was saying like the stuff related towards Seth Rollins, like where he stopped and he's like, everybody seems to be happy of me being back, but I know not everybody's happy to see me back or whatever the exact wording was. He still has that little edge to it. I think he had to know that there might be some skepticism with him coming back in there. And I feel like it all kind of just, it's going to be hard to really tell how I really feel about what we see from CM Punk until we know like what way he's going and who he's going to go after and what this run's going to look like. Because, you know, they also said on Busted Open, I think that it's been projected that he signed a deal for like 3 to 5 years. So if he signed a deal for 3 to 5 years, then that means he's going to be around for a minute, which means they've got time to get him into some really meaty stuff. I also liked how he quoted and said that a wise man once told him, you know, about things too. So again, he's tying into the fact we all know Paul Heyman has been with the bloodline and been the wise man for Roman Reigns through this whole historic title reign. Once again, here's the fingerprints of Paul Heyman on, again, let's not forget when CM Punk had the record-setting title reign that he had. It was what, 434 days or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And he had Paul Heyman with him. So I like the little throwbacks, but as far as my excitement as to what he's going to do, it kind of is going to depend on, for me, where we see them go next. Obviously, it looks like it's going to be him and Seth, but how we get there, I think, is going to determine a lot of that for me. Rob, before we get out of here,
Kyle, would you rather see him have like a bunch of good matches with good guys on the show leading up to Seth, or would you rather kind of be like a special attraction type thing?
I feel like you got to get him in the ring a couple times at least to be able to like get WWE fans who weren't watching back then maybe a little more satiated with CM Punk. But I mean,
I just want to see him in there with Nakamura.
I would say Gargano. Give me Punk Gargano.
Yes, man. There's so many guys that I just want to see him get in there and tangle.
Speaking of matches that we're gonna see, I mean, I agree with, to answer your question. I think obviously they're gonna have to get him in the ring. They need to have have him in there with some good guys so people can get him back on there. But I at least this time that as opposed to when he came back in AEW, at least he was in the ring a little bit at AEW. So it's not going to be like full on ring rust. I mean, obviously he was hurt with, was it his shoulder or was his back or whatever he had hurt
at one time?
Yeah, it's his foot. Yeah. He had gotten hurt with a couple different things while he's in AEW. So, I mean, at least he was in the ring there. And so it's not like it's a full ring rust thing. But again, I think we're going to see some good stuff. I think he knows what he's got in front of him and he knows he's got the opportunity to be able to kind of rewrite the ending for himself in WWE. So I feel like that's going to be on the forefront. But it'll be interesting nonetheless to see where we go, because then we also got to see where Randy Orton goes. I mean, obviously we saw on Monday, we had the interaction with Mommy and Judgment Day. I don't know if he's going to go and, fight Judgment Day.
Awesome match with Dom. Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, right. And then you've also got he said in his promo, he wants to get after the whole bloodline. And that obviously, in the way he said it, it looked like he was alluding to Jey Uso too. So main event Jay still got some heat on him too. So I don't know if we get Randy and Jay next, because it looks like Drew wants to still kill Jey Uso too. So, like I say, I think there's a lot of things and a lot of places we can go. I think it's always a good thing when we're headed into WrestleMania season where we're like, okay, where's so-and-so going to go? Where are they going to end up? What can happen with those things? And I feel like that's kind of what we've got on both sides. I mean, Rob, what are your thoughts as far as headed out of there, like as to what we can see? Like, I feel like when we're in a spot like this where you don't really know where we're going, that's when the best shit comes, because we don't know where the hell we're going from here.
I think it's all like really good problems to have. Like, was this a work? Was this a shoot? Like, is he going to fight Seth? Well, like Drew's kind of annoyed at him, man. And we talked about the Punk promo. I shared my thoughts on that. Like, it's just a giant question mark of what's next. Who's it going to be? Face, heel, is he going to take jabs? Very interesting. I like the promos of the nights for me were Drew and Seth, I loved that interaction because Drew, again, like we talk about him going heel. Is he a heel already? Like, I loved where he tried to do things the right way. And he said, all right, Seth, like, all right, fine. You know, I said what I had to say. Here's my mission statement. You know, fine. If it's not me, who's it going to be? And there's like Jey Uso, which was like that last nerve. And he's like, and that triggered some headbutt him, the blood instantly. I mean, it couldn't have been more perfect. And just like seeing him snap like that, I like the long-term storytelling, like I mentioned earlier. I want to see where that goes because we talk about Jey Uso. He's mad at Seth. He's mad at Jey Uso. All right, we can go this way or we go this way. Let's talk about Randy Orton. He could go after Jey Uso, but that segment with Rhea Ripley was amazing. Who is the leader of the Judgment Day? Let's not get that wrong.
Agreed.
Rhea Ripley is the leader of the Judgment Day, which was so awesome. Great promo by both Daddy's Home. Like they have, man, I mean, you can't, there's, you know, here comes the t-shirt. Although I think Ciampa had that first. That being said, it was so great. So is he going to go for the Judgment Day or is he going to go for Jey Uso, man? I am here for it. Great problems to have. And then we're approaching the Royal Rumble. Are you kidding me? We talk about Jade. We talk about Cody. I mean, let's go. Mike Mueller in the chat. Rob Spitting Facts. Shout out Sweet Chin Music's podcast. Dude, I'm hyped. These are all good problems. Becky, Charlotte, let's go.
Oh, it's just perfect for Rumble season, dude. Mix it all up in the Rumble. Just get everybody there, and we could all just hash it out inside the ring at the Rumble. I'm all for that.
Yeah,
Corey, you like the Rumble. You want some money on the Rumble. I know.
Bitch, you took my belt.
He's sitting over there looking at the belt.
Still sitting right over my shoulder.
I was wondering because you said he's more of an MMA guy, and I'm like, why you got the IC title? Now it totally makes sense.
Yeah, bitch took my belt.
No way. Wow.
And don't forget the cash. I was more worried about the cash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the money. God damn it. I won
like that. Yeah,
I won the year before and he took my shit.
And he got paid. I can't wait for it this year, man. It's gonna be huge.
Boy.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't even get a chance at the title because I'm gonna be at the Rumble. Fuck.
Hey man, you know what they say? You gotta be present to play. And if you ain't there, you ain't getting paid, dude.
Hey, you'll be getting paid while I'm out in Miami playing in the sunshine. I will take it.
I might be with you, so there ain't gonna be no party up in here. So ain't nobody getting paid. But I want my belt back, fool.
Wait, didn't you say if the competition gets pushed, you get to hold the belt?
Yeah.
Oh, ain't that a bitch? So he's gonna hold it a whole nother year. You see what he just said? That's bullshit.
I don't want to have to rearrange the whole setup here and stuff. You know.
Yeah, the hat rack he's been talking about for 3 years and shit.
It ended up being a motorcycle helmet rack. I just gotta, unbury the other ones and put more of them up there. But I got the one I use at least up there.
I'm the only one with no belt over here. Bullshit.
All right, man. Well, speaking of what's next, Rob, let them know what's next on the Bob Culture podcast, man.
Oh, what do we got coming up, man? I got to plug it one more time. BCP 500, our 500th episode is going to be for Mania Club. They work closely with Connor's Cure in the fight against pediatric cancer. We're actually going to give away some physical trophies to some of the Indie Town. We have our year-end awards and $4 from every trophy because they're all sponsored, going right to Mania Club. So we're sending them some money out. We're going to maybe do some auctions or some other things to raise some money for the cause. That should be at the end of December, maybe New Year's Day because everyone's got off. So maybe we'll run our little award show around then. I'll announce that probably in the next week or so. We got some good indie guests coming on. I spoke with Alex Ryman from Pro Wrestling Magic. He should be coming on ahead of their show December 23rd at the Mecca here in New Jersey, Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Pro Wrestling Magic's WrestleMania Kingdom Come 8. That'll be great. We have the tag team, the Rat Bastards, are coming on from WrestlePro. So we got a lot of good things coming, and you never know. We might have some surprise names coming on the show. I hate like when promoters and stuff hype stuff, and I feel like I just did that. But once we lock it in, we'll let you guys know.
The Rat Bastards, just for the record, it was like a running joke in my house for years because my sister, when my mom said dirty rat bastard on the phone and couldn't say it and dirty rat bastard. So I think that might be her favorite tag team. But with that said, Knockouts and 3 Counts is coming back at you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. with the Mohawk Esteban Rodriguez before he steps in the squared circle for BKFC 56. Going down in Salt Lake City, Utah on pay-per-view. Also, alongside fellow past guest of the show, your women's strawweight champ, or she's flyweight or strawweight. No, she's flyweight. Your women's flyweight champion, Christine the Misfit Faria, which if you missed either of those, you can check those out as well. So we've got that coming. And then next week, we've got Miranda Maverick from the UFC coming through on Wednesday. I still got to figure out who's coming to you on that Tuesday episode, or you're going to just see our fine faces. But like I said, there's a lot coming. Like J-Bone said, we're going to be around the Royal Rumble. Shout out to our guy, Mega Ran. I know Mega Ran is coming through this month. We're going to talk about his album being number 2 on Billboard Kids chart. We're going to talk about what he's got going on Royal Rumble weekend. Like I said, we've already got Swerve has been announced for that. I got a feeling there's going to be some other big names that are going to be announced for that. Big Swole is on that as well. And while we were there, while I gave Chris Van Vliet a ride back to the hotel, I heard CVV might be making his way back through here as well, and Chris Kale. So, like I said, if you guys are new here, we're almost to 1,000 subscribers, so we would greatly appreciate the subscribe, but you ain't going to want to miss what's coming from the homies at Knockouts and 3 Counts. One more shout out to our sponsors, Potter's Tree Service. Check them out, fuck around, and find out you don't need hacksaw Jim Duggan trying to cut down your tree. So, in the meantime, in the in-between time, shout out to WWE. Thanks for having us. Hit that subscribe button. Peace. Fuck your couch.